The Unspoken War, a philosophical breakdown of Raymond Ibrahim's book, Crucified Again. In the fraught and often sanitized discourse on global religious conflict, few voices are as deliberate or as deliberately controversial as Raymond Ibrahim. A Coptic Christian scholar and translator, Ibrahim has built a career on a singular, unsettling argument that the persecution of Christians in the Muslim world is not a series of random, politically motivated tragedies, but a systematic, ideologically driven war. A war with a clear historical precedent and a chillingly consistent theological blueprint. His work stands in direct opposition to the mainstream narrative, which often attributes such violence to poverty, political instability, or the excesses of rogue extremists. For this, he's been labeled an alarmist, an Islamophobe, and a polemicist. But to his supporters, he is a truth-teller, unafraid to connect the dots that others deliberately ignore. And nowhere is this thesis more starkly presented than in his 2013 book, Crucified Again, exposing Islam's new war on Christians. This is not a book of opinion. It is a prosecutor's brief, built on a mountain of evidence. Its power lies in its brutal, unflinching insistence on naming things for what they are, forcing a philosophical confrontation with a possibility that is deeply unsettling, that we are not facing a modern political problem with a political solution, but a resurgent, centuries-old religious imperative. The central and most controversial argument of Crucified Again is this: the primary driver of the widespread persecution of Christians across the Muslim world is not modern geopolitics, but classical, traditional Islam itself. Ibrahim argues that the common explanations, the Iraq War, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, poverty, a clash of cultures, are at best secondary factors and at worst deliberate obfuscations. He calls them root causes that Western analysts invent to avoid confronting the religious cause proper. So what is this cause proper? It is the body of Islamic doctrine found in the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sharia that mandates a specific and inferior status for non-Muslims. The persecution we see today, he claims, is not a perversion of Islam, but the implementation of its traditional laws and ethos. He builds this case on two pivotal concepts. The first is Dhimmitude. This is the historical legal status for people of the book living under Islamic rule. As dhimmis, they were granted protection to live and practice their religion, but at a cost. This included the payment of a special tax, the Jizya, and submission to a series of humiliating social and legal restrictions designed to reinforce their inferiority. They could not build new churches, testify against a Muslim in court, or marry Muslim women. They were, in effect, second-class citizens in their own homelands. The second is the doctrine of abrogation. This is a critical theological principle in Islam, which holds that later revelations to Muhammad in Medina abrogate or cancel earlier, more tolerant revelations from his time in Mecca. Ibrahim points out that the famous verse of the sword, which commands Muslims to fight and slay the pagans wherever ye find them, effectively abrogates over 100 earlier verses advocating for tolerance and peace. For Islamists and traditionalists, he argues, this later, militant verse sets the ultimate theological standard. Ibrahim's claim is that modern Islamists are not innovating, they are in fact seeking to restore this classical system. The new war is in reality a very old war. And to demonstrate this, he presents a relentless, case-by-case documentation structured to mirror the patterns of historical Dhimmitude. He details what he calls the physical cross, The massacres in Nigeria by Fulani jihadists, the systematic slaughter of Copts in Egypt, the eradication of ancient communities by ISIS. This, he says, is the ultimate application of jihad, the physical elimination or subjugation of the unbeliever. Then there is the fiscal cross, the return of the Jizya. He presents numerous instances where groups like ISIS have explicitly demanded that Christians pay the Jizya tax to save their lives. For him, this is not a metaphor or a simple shakedown. It is a literal reinstatement of the Dhimmi Pact, proving the religious nature of the conflict beyond any doubt. He further evidences the social cross, detailing the daily, grinding reality of life for Christians under Islamist rule or social pressure. This includes the weaponization of blasphemy laws, the kidnapping and forced conversion of girls, and the destruction of churches. This social pressure is designed to achieve what violence alone cannot: the slow, suffocating erosion of a community's will to exist. And finally, he points to the historical cross, the deliberate destruction of Christian and pre-Christian heritage. This is not mere vandalism, but iconoclasm, a religiously motivated effort to erase any history and identity that predates or challenges the supremacy of Islam. It is a war on memory itself. Perhaps the most philosophically potent part of Ibrahim's case is his analysis of why the West consistently fails to acknowledge this religious dimension. He identifies a fundamental, almost epistemological disconnect in worldview. The modern Western mind, shaped by the Enlightenment and secularism, views religion as a private matter, separate from politics and law. It instinctively seeks socio-economic or political explanations for conflict. When it sees jihad, it calls it terrorism. When it sees Dhimmitude, it calls it ethnic conflict. But the Islamist worldview is the inverse. For them, religion is the law. It is the source of politics, not separate from it. Therefore, their actions are, in their minds, perfectly logical and religiously justified. This creates a catastrophic failure of interpretation. The West is trying to analyze a theologically driven phenomenon through a secular lens. We are speaking different metaphysical languages. This is why Western statements so often seem ludicrously disconnected from reality. They are projecting their own worldview onto a force that operates on a completely different set of axioms. The final takeaway from Crucified Again is not a hopeful one. It offers no easy solutions. Its value is as a stark warning. To misunderstand the nature of your enemy is to guarantee your own defeat. By refusing to see the ideological and religious drivers of this persecution, the West remains disarmed in a conflict that shows no signs of abating. The cross, Ibrahim argues, is being raised again, not as a symbol of hope, but as a target for eradication. And he believes it is the duty of the free world to see it, to name it, and to finally break the silence.